Hi, I'm Tom at Ledgmere. I finally got this Super A going, and like I said, from now on I'm just going to refer to it as the Super A. It's really, I think, a Frankenstein tractor, but the cool thing about it is it looks like a Super A1 because it has the water pump and the higher profile, so it's really pretty cool. I've got the hydraulic system all serviced, and so that's all working correctly. All the systems are working exactly the way they're supposed to right now. It shifts nice and easy. I got the new springs here on the brakes, so those come back really well. I do have a guard down here to cover to put over that, so we'll be putting that on. Mostly new wiring is on here, new battery, cables, etc., all new gauges. And one of the other things, if you remember, I had this funky heater hose thing going on when I first brought it home that went around, and it was so that you could set it up, I guess, for a block heater. This tractor plowed a lot of snow in its past life, and you've seen the snow plow. It's a little hokey, but anyway, I've got that snow plow down back, and I'm trying to get rid of it. Fuel lines, fuel tank. I touched up the paint. Like I said, it's a 10-foot paint job. I'd never considered myself a good painter, and so I just do a little bit and clean it up, and so it looks pretty good from what I call 10 feet. Carburetor's all cleaned up, and so what I was trying to say was I've got a temp gauge that runs all the way back to the dashboard like you would have on like a Super C, and so I've got to find a place to mount it. I was going to try to find a piece of sheet metal or something and then put some screws in it and put it. Right now it's kind of sitting off to the side until I can make up my mind exactly what I want to do with it. The touch control system does not leak at all. Everything is nice and tight. The steering is good and tight. I got a new steering wheel on it. Obviously, I need to go through and hit everything with the grease gun, put a little bit of oil in the generator and the starter ports there. I've got mismatched tires on it. This tire on the left has a mate down underneath the barn, and I would say these tires are probably 50 to 60% tread. There's a lot of good tread on it. The one on the right definitely has more tread, but if you wanted a mate, to put matched tires on, I personally hate mismatched tires, but the mate to this one is underneath the barn, and there's nothing wrong with it. I've also got another complete set of 3-loop rims, and they're like car tires, and I really hate when people put car tires on tractors. That's just me, but gosh, I think they look so stupid, and they don't turn well. And I'm going to make some of you mad probably, but what I absolutely hate is when people take a 2-wheel drive tractor and then put like Chevron tires on the front, because it's not 4-wheel drive and it looks stupid to me. You can put whatever you want, it's your tractor, but unless it's 4-wheel drive, Chevron tires do not go on the front. You put rib tires on the front for steering. Now people will say it turns better. That's fine, it's your tractor, put on whatever you want, but I hate it. Hi, I'm Tom at Ledgmere. As you can see, today I'm down at my brother-in-law's farm shop, and I've got this old 1956 Farmall 200 behind me, and this is one of the tractors that we're tearing down. This tractor's been around here for a number of years and finally gave up the ghost, and so we're just tearing her down. It had some bent push rods in it, so we've cut the head off it. I think we're going to sell the block with the pulleys. I'm sure the oil pan will go with it. We've got this touch control unit here. We want to keep all in one piece and sell the whole thing together as one. Some people want to buy just the arms off it, but I don't want to break it down, so we're going to sell it all as one complete unit. And then we got a good tank here. The tower's all good. The steering wheel's been replaced, but it's not bad. The seat post, and then we got a complete fast hitch unit here. The hydraulics have all been sold off already, but the hydraulic fast hitch, we can sell that. Got 2 nice tires. This one's almost brand new, and the rims, as you can see, they've never been rotted. These rims have never had fluid in them, so they look pretty good. So I got a buyer for the right angle belt pulley, and I got 3 of the bolts out, and obviously that one right there is stuck on this upright. So let me see if I can tap it with a hammer and pry it over just a little bit. I've got the other 3 all out, so it's just a matter of shoving that over. It does have a new IH on there because they look really dumb without them. I have a couple of stacks. This one right here is the one that came on it. There's nothing wrong with it, but I am going to scuff it up a little bit and put some grill, the hut, that stove black. the spray paint. That really makes these look nice. And since there's nothing wrong with it and it's a short stack, I can get through here. And so this has a new cup on it. The old one was a little crunchy, and new, whatever you want to call this, the clamp. And so you can see the carburetor. I've got a new hose here with the clamps, original style clamps. And then I've got a rebuilt, remanufactured generator. And I'm just going to give a little shout out to these guys because they, while a little bit pricey, do fantastic work, and I have never had an issue with anything they've sent me, and so I highly recommend them. This tractor was not charging when I got it. I rewired it here. You can see the wiring and new voltage regulator and one of these on there, and next thing we know, we're cooking with gas, right? Very windy out today, so I'm not going to go outside too much and end up messing up. So these tractors, the Super A, probably the A2, I'm not sure, the 100, 130 had this little latch device. And so I got all new side brackets here, the new springs, and the tractor here. Why is there a steering wheel over here? I have another steering wheel. So that's why it looked funny. And anyway, so I got a new seat cover for it. These seats are really hard to find, and even though it's a flip-up seat, it seems like every one of these tractors that you see has some aftermarket like seat on it, like a lawn and garden seat that somebody put on it. This one just had a piece of plywood with a piece of junk plastic seat on it. It looked terrible, and I want it to look, reasonably original. I understand it's 2022, and you want to put some modern conveniences on some things. Like some people want 12 volt, and sure, that's fine. But when it comes to like changing seats around, it's like you either put the right seat on it or go home. So I had a difficult time trying to find the right style seat. I was able to find one down south. It had a couple holes in it, so I cleaned it all up, ground it down, and I filled the holes with JB Weld, and then I sanded it down and painted it, and I really think it looks pretty good. There's a guy who used to write these books about tractors. One was like Rusted Knuckles and Busted Tractors or something, and everything I know about women I learned from my tractor. He was really funny, and he used to write articles in like Farm Journal when I was a kid. And so I remember he had this Alice Chalmers WD or WC, and at the time back in the 80s, you couldn't buy a lot of these parts, and so the air cleaner cup of his Alice was all rotted. So he was saying about how he filled it all with JB Weld and made that go. And it's one of these things when you get these old tractors, you just accumulate tools because like, well, I need this tool for that. And so he's Roger something. I've got the books at the house. Very, very funny guy. I'm sure his first name's Roger. But I digress. So this tractor is looking pretty good. I've got everything running. These old tractors, and you got to remember, there's no safety anything on these. And so if you've ever watched the movie with Reese Witherspoon, Man on the Moon, where the kid's driving a Farmall H with a drag disc behind him, and he reaches over and falls off and gets harrowed, well, that's what these tractors will do to you. There's just nothing to prevent you from getting killed. I actually had an '84 Kubota that I was bush hogging with, and I had both hands on the steering wheel going uphill, and then the seat fell off, and I bush hogged the seat, and I was like, well, I'm glad I was hanging on because I would have been mulch. So these old tractors, you want to be really careful with them, and if you're tired, if your brain's not working right, do not drive these old tractors because they will kill you. And even today, people die every year on them. The narrow front end tractors, they're very safe if you use them the way they're intended. You can't be going fast and turn the corner. You can't be going side hills. You just use your brain, and you'll probably be fine. I haven't started this tractor since yesterday, and yesterday I started with no choke. It just started right up, so I'm really curious to see today if it'll fire with no choke. So the choke's off, switch on, open her up, and well, what might help is if I turn the gas on. Now this tractor has a brand new bowl, brand new gas line, and everything's been sealed up. But I never trust them not to leak. It just seems like they're gonna every time. So let's try this again. Now let's give her some choke. So if you're wondering why it sounds like a Super C, it is a Super C. It has a 51 Super C motor in it. It has a 54, let me think. This the touch controls 53, this is a 54 here, and the final drives are 56, and I think the transmission's a 56. So it's like somebody, I don't know what happened. I don't know how this, but it happens. You know, tractors get wrecked and they go back to the dealer, and the dealer's got some other junk tractors, you know, or some other dealers. So they just slap a tractor together and you're back in business. So there's no serial number on this one. But oh yeah, I meant to show you the hydraulics. The hydraulics work. Check it again. So they're a little slow because it's cold, but I bled them all out, and there's no more leaks. I've got the guards off for the touch control right now because I have it all apart to paint it. You know, I don't want to just paint the whole thing. I took all the parts and pieces apart, and then I'm going to reassemble it with stainless steel nuts and bolts. This tractor, I took a lot of the old bolts off. There's a guy that actually wants to buy a bucket of those old round, well, they're hex head bolts, but they got the round dot on them, the original ones from IH. So even before that, when I was putting this back together, I was determined to put as much stainless steel hardware into it as I could, and it was just something I wanted to do. I know that you don't need to, but anyway, so I've got the wiring pretty good. It's got a new spark plugs. Those I gapped those. You know, I made a video and I said I'm pretty good at gapping them by guessing, and I just for the heck of it I took them out, and the sets that you get now from Tractor Supply, they come with a little gauge. They come with this little gauge here, so it's set at .020, which is kind of cool because my feeler gauges, even though they're kept in the toolbox, they always seem to rust, and then I can't see what the engraving is. I digress. I was pretty close on my gapping of the spark plugs. I got into the distributor here and everything looks good. It does have a distributor dust cap in there like it's supposed to, but I did put a new rotor button on it, and you know, these plugs are still fine. I did run a new wire from the distributor to the coil, and I ran a new wire from the coil back here to the switch. And then on the other side, I just ran some new light wires. And down here, I've got the lights hooked up. I've got, you know, one works, the other one doesn't. I haven't tested it for power yet, so I'm sure it's either I've got a ground issue here because it has to be really well grounded for the circuit to be completed. But the sheet metal on this thing is really nice. There's a little bit of an imperfection here, you know, but there's not a dent in this hood. It looks a little orange peely, which seems to be a common theme among these old tractors. This hood is cherry. It's absolutely mint. Not a thing wrong with it. The grill is very nice also. Now I believe this, if it was a Super A1, it would have a Super C grill on it, because when you look on the front, the hole for the crank doesn't really line up. And I tried putting a 100 grill on the front, and the little bracket thing that holds the bottom of the grill isn't lined up right, and I think you just have to flip it over to make it fit. But with the 100 grill on it, the crank went all the way through. I do have a new crank to put on it. This tractor has to have a crank. I have a new crank holder for it. And then I've got, oh crap, I think I blew it on. Nice. It's very windy up here. So I got this piece right here, which is going to go, let's see. Let's see if I'm looking at upside down or right side up. Has to be. This actually has a hole in it, I think, for the throttle. You know, the A industrial. How does this hook on? Oh, it's on like this. I'm sorry. I'm totally upside down. There's a hole here in the brake shaft or clutch shaft, brake shaft, whatever it is, and then there's a hole here. So this will bolt up in there like that, and that'll look nice. Brake latches are all freed up. I did put a braided fender on the left. The one that came on it was all cut up, and I couldn't live with it. So if you look at some of my previous videos, you'll see where I changed the fender out, and again, that's got stainless in there. The tractor came with a hacked up Cub fast hitch, which is off, and I'm going to use a couple parts to fix my Cub. The bar that swings the pull bar back and forth is bent, like somebody used it for a bull grader or something, and I'm going to try to get that switched out, but it's all rusted and stuck, so it's going to be a little bit of work. Regardless, I had a horseshoe drawbar, so that's on here, and I had the plow lift, like it should have, on here, and then you got the rock shaft lift. IHC gas cap, you can still get these from Navistar. They will send you one. And so you're saying this tractor didn't have serial number. How did you get one of these? It requires a serial number. Well, I had another piece of junk tractor with a serial number on it, and so there you go. I actually had a couple of Cub Hulks, and so I put the serial number in and it worked, and they sent me a couple new gas caps. So here's one. This is not original, but it looks really cool. I think they're a nice aftermarket thing. That's not original, but again, I think it's cool. New pressure cap on it. I think it's 7 psi when you have the water pump. I'm not sure, but I believe it's 7 psi. The lights are brand new, and like I said, this one's not working, and I think it's because the ground is hosed. New gauge here, new oil and filter. So the cool thing about Super C motor. Okay, so here's the next thing that is confusing to me. In 51, the Super Cs, right, didn't have a dipstick. They had oil cocks. So riddle me this. Is it really a Super C motor? I mean, I looked at the head, and the date on the head was 1951. It's a C123 motor, not a C113. A Farmall C would have a C113. A Farmall Super A would have a C113. That's one of the other things that's confusing me, because a Super C and a Super A had petcocks in the oil pan to measure oil. They didn't have a dipstick. The 200, 100, etc. had that. So is this a 100 motor with an older head on it? You know, at some point, International, they were just taking stuff. You know, they date coded a bunch of stuff, obviously, when they made it, but they had a surplus of things on the shelf. So I guess it's possible something could have been made in 51 and put on in 54 because they had so many of them. And I forget exactly what date it was when the date codes and the serial number codes didn't match up anymore. And for some reason, it seems like, you know, around the early 50s. And I'd have to look that up to verify it, but I think that's true. I've got a new saddle switch on here, and Steiner does make a really nice 6-volt saddle switch. Don't buy the cheap ones off Amazon and eBay because they're garbo. You want to make sure when you have 6-volt, you use these 0-aught cables. And when you're talking about wire size, smaller is bigger. And so when you get less voltage, you are pushing. You got more resistance. So you can think about it as I'm not going to get into electronics with you, but you just think about it as a triangle. You got voltage, current, resistance. So if one goes up, one goes down, and then you have to compensate. So 12-volt cables will not really work well on a 6-volt tractor, and there's plenty of documentation to explain that, why that's a thing. I did put a new throttle control, governor control on it, because the teeth on them get worn out after a while, and I wanted to make sure that this had a good one. Brand new battery, like I said. With this tractor, like I'm still hemming and hawing. What am I going to do with it? I really want to get more tractors, and so I've got a bunch of Cub stuff that I'm going to sell. And right now we're going to take a little walk around, and I'm going to show you some of the Cub stuff. And actually, I got some fast hitch, 2-point hitch things too that I'm going to get rid of. So let's go for a walk. So you can see it's got the rear right angle belt pulley drive. I've got a cover that I had taken off for Super C, and it didn't quite fit right. For some reason, these holes didn't really match up, and I could just take the drill, you know, and egg out the holes, I guess, a little bit on the cover, make it fit, and get these out. But of course, the bolts that fit here aren't the same as the ones that go there. And so I do have the anchor here for the swing and drawbar, which is also the anchor for the snowplow that you could put in the middle. And so here's the horseshoe drawbar, and what I got to do is loosen up these bolts here because it's a little bit yamped off to the side. You can see it's hooked in right there, but then it's off there. So in order to fix that, I need to unscrew these right here a little bit. And so, you know, I don't have any leaks in the final drive. What I am going to do though is service this. I watch Farmall Fanatic, and he's got a regular straight A, and he said how many quarts it took for the A. So I'm gonna see how many it takes for here and see if it's the same as what he used for his A. And this is, you know, essentially a Super A rear end. But so here's the plow lift here. I've got dog bones I could put on it if I wanted to. It's very, very hard to get an original toolbox now, and I did find one. And so yeah, it's a little pitted, but it's smooth and it's been painted. It's great. Here's the brackets here, and you can see the brand new springs here. This is the new fender. The quality of this fender is it's okay. It's not as thick as the originals, but it looks better than the old one, which was hacked. And I did have this weight off. It wasn't on the tractor, so I did wire wheel it all down and paint that up. And I think it looks pretty good with the right rims and tires on the front. And so, like I said, I've got a few things to button up on it. I've got to put this guard back together, and then I got the touch control gauge here, the temperature. So we're gonna go for a little walk, and hopefully the wind's not gonna mess me up too much. I've got these 189 plows. They're in really, really nice shape. This has the sod cutter, coulter, whatever you want to call it, nice shape. I've got all the original carriage bolts that are gonna bolt to the horseshoe drawbar. I've got the right and left side. You can see the shares down there, the points. They're really nice on both. So here's that fast hitch drawbar off the Cub, and so here's the pull bar. You can see where somebody welded it and put it on the Super A. The problem with that is there's no way to hang the front of it without hooking it to the rock shaft on the right hand side, the 140. I'll show you that in a minute, how that actually hooks on. But I need this part right here off it to put on mine. Under that, I've got a fast hitch adapter, 2-point to 3-point. But you can see on my Cub, somebody really screwed this up. And in order to have the mower on it, you have to have this swung over, which is fine, but how the heck am I gonna get that off this rod? That's gonna be really fun. When I come in here in the shed, so this is a 48 McCormick Deering Cub, late, I think in 49, sometime between 48 and 49, they switched it from McCormick Deering to just McCormick. And if you see a 48 or a 47 that doesn't have Deering on it, then the decal's wrong. I have a nice flail mower, and I've got some videos of that going on and how that works. This tractor was professionally restored before I got it. And it does smoke a little bit when you throttle it down and juice it to take off, but it doesn't use oil, so I'm not sure what that's all about. I did put a new starter in it last year, new starter switch. I put a cap and rotor in it at some point, but remember, this is a Magneto. I rebuilt the mag on it, and that actually worked out pretty well. I was pretty impressed with myself for rebuilding a mag and having it actually work. Brakes work perfectly. The clutch is good. There's all kinds of room on the clutch for adjustment. This tractor originally had the post seat on it with the pan, which I absolutely despise. They're so uncomfortable. So I put this one on, the deluxe seat, and I had a John Deere M, and I just took the good parts off it and put it on here. The Farmall ones are typically gray. This has the original steering wheel on it, and so it's got a few cracks in it, but this tractor was really well maintained, I believe, and everything is really nice and tight on it. It has the original touch control, depth control right here, and it has the little wing nuts on it still, and so that was perfect. I had to change the shifter, of course, to make this work, and the brackets. The headlights work, it charges perfectly. It's got 2 brand new tires and rims on the front, and a brand new tire and rim here. The other one holds air, but it is got a little place on it where it's starting to show a little bit of its age. Has the tail light, rear implement lift, and the rear work light. And then down here you can see the swing and drawbar and the eye bolts for the 189 plow, which will actually go with that. I think I might actually have another set of those eye bolts, but when that 189 plows is going to be complete. I've got that 189 plow, it will be complete. It'll have everything you need. Get on the tractor. Attachments, I sell the attachments with the manual, and then I take a piece of paper and I check off each part of the implement and then include that with the manual, so it's almost like, you know, I took inventory of what I'm selling, so that people that buy an implement from me, I'll either tell you it's incomplete or I'll say it's complete, and if I tell you it's complete, it's going to be complete. I've got a really nice set of cub cultivators. I have a set of cultivators for the 140, so once I'm sure that I have all the sweeps and shovels for the 140, whatever's left over will go with the cub cultivator set, and the cultivators for the cub, I think I have an extra back set, but most of the shovels I have for the cub I think are C-Tine. They're the spring, like these kind right here. I don't want to sell those. I have that Cub 22 mower. I do have a brand new pulley over there. It's really sucked. Those Cub 22 mower pulleys now, I think it's a 6-inch pulley maybe, or 4-inch. I'm not sure. I'd have to actually measure it. But TM Tractor here in Maine, they're selling them for $300 for a good one, and then on eBay they're $200 to $300, $400. So, you know, I'll say you that 22 Cub mower with everything you need, with an extra knife and shims and the pulley and everything, for $450, which I think is an awesome deal. But I'm not just selling the pulley. If you want to pay me $150 for the mower, then you can go find your own pulley and grass board for that. You know, I always say they don't make them anymore, so there is what there is. And here in New England, stuff's kind of hard to find sometimes. A lot of the stuff got thrown, got junked. I'm sure there's the truth everywhere. I'm really hoping spring's just around the corner, but in all honesty, it's only March 8th. And March is usually in like a lion, like a lamb. So we could get snow all the way in the first week or two of April. So I try not to get too optimistic on decent days, but I'll take them when I got them, right? So I'm sure you're wondering, why am I getting rid of all this stuff? Well, for one thing, I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. My plans aren't exactly the way they used to be, and if I get rid of a whole bunch of stuff, then I can get something else. See some of the cultivators there. I've got most of them underneath the barn. This is like some of my extra stuff. Now all the fast hitch stuff, you know, that 140 plow, I'm keeping that. Fast hitch row, keeping that. Gonna keep this plow here. This is another Cub plow. Not gonna let that go. 100 blade, keeping that. Got a really nice 140 plow here, and there's no way I'm selling that. That's gonna stay here with me. I've got 2 of these fast hitch discs, and this is my good one. I call it the good one. It's a 7-foot small point fast hitch disc, keeping that, and my fast hitch 2-bottom plow, keeping that. This right here is another 7-foot fast hitch small point disc. This one's going to be, they claimed that this was made for a 300 utility. However, it has the small prongs on it, so it fits the Super C, and it has the tail wheel there. And So the tractors, when you get to like a 311, 411, right here there was a provision to add another tire that would keep it up on the furrow. Here's a Cub 3 cultivator, field cultivator. I scrounged that out of the woods last year in New Hampshire, and that's going to be for sale. And that's a really nice piece, but I don't need it, so that can go. Right here I've got a really heavy-duty snowplow, and I had a John Deere M, and the part here, the mold board and the round part, were exactly the same on the John Deere M. And so here's part of the frame here, and I've got the lift mechanism underneath the barn, but that fits on the Super A. No. All right, so I'm a little cold. I'm gonna go back up underneath the barn and I'll show you some more stuff that's gotta go. All right, so underneath the barn, I had to get my breath. The wind's pretty bad. So these right here are fenders that go on a 100 spreader, just like this one. And so this spreader, I'm not selling that, but I've got extra fenders that can go. Here's the frames for a Cub cultivator, and this is 100% complete. It's all been repainted blue, and it's a little dirty from sitting underneath the barn, but everything is very movable. Everything's been greased. Everything is in very nice shape. I have the back hangers, all the extra extensions, all of it. Here's a fertilizer hopper. There's the cover. Now when we start talking about the planter unit, that's all right here, and it's 100% complete. I've got all of one complete planter, and then about half of another planter. And so here's some of the back sweeps here. And like I said, once my 140 cultivator is complete, then I'll go back and add parts to make the Cub planter complete. And so here you can see, here's a hanger here goes off the rock shaft on the Cub cultivator. Here's another depth control right here with the dog bone, and another set of latching bars right here. When you look in here, you'll see boxes of extra planter parts, and over there is most of another rear unit set of cultivators. There's the seed hopper hood there, or sorry, the fertilizer hopper hood. Here's a base. Actually, you can see right there, there's the fertilizer hopper. That thing is mint. There's not a speck of rust on it. I got some shovels up here, but those aren't gonna go just yet. I've got Cub pulleys, and like the bigger pulleys that went on like a Super C 140 Cub post. I got several mufflers, no holes in them. They're all in good shape. Very good seat for like a Cub, Super C 200, etc. Whole buckets of planter parts, extra. These drive gears right here, these are like 75, 100 bucks a piece when you want to start buying these individually. But I've got everything that you need to make that work. Here's another adjustable rim. I've got rear implement lifts. This one right here is for the hand lift. I do have the handle for it, but I have several of the regular rear implement lifts there. Super C control tower. Now these tires right here are going to be available. I'm going to put the rims on the yellow Cub, and I've got new tires there that are going to go on it. And then we'll move down here. Here's a Cub radiator, Cub air cleaner, just all kinds of parts and pieces, and I want to get rid of all of it. All of it. So all this stuff, except for a couple things I mentioned, the tires I want to keep, and 140 cultivators. Here's another Cub tire right there, and I'm going to keep that. I've got another rim over there. There's the matching tire right there for the Super A, and then right behind this post, there's two more of those 3-loop rims with decent tires on them. What I'm not getting rid of is I've got this, I finally acquired a late 70s fast hitch snowplow, and it's got the false drawbar here, so that's going to go on my yellow Cub, and here's the snow foil. But I do have a complete regular 54 blade here, and I've got another whole set of parts for the snowplow arch there. And so here's my fast hitch plow. That's not for sale. Here's another touch control unit. Here's a right angle drawbar for, right angle pulley drive for a Cub, and I do have pulleys for that. This right here is the handle for that rollover plow that I was mentioning, And then, you know, down here I've got steering, knuckles, bearings, front wheels, you know, just about it. I need to get this stuff out of here so you can see that my rototiller and my finish mower were out there, and I don't want to leave those out anymore. So I want to use this space to park the stuff that I'm actually going to use instead of storing stuff that's just here collecting dust, and maybe somebody can use it more than me. We'll come back over here real quick now that the wind stopped for a second. This is my Cub drag disc right here. That's gotta go. There's so much invested in that red Cub. It's cream puff, and you know, a lot of people, they don't want to pay much for stuff, and so it depends on the part of the country, you know, and things. But people that want to offer you like $1,000 for something that I know is worth $3 need not apply. I am very reasonable, and you know, I'll do what's fair market value for New England, but nothing's going to be a giveaway. And I'll do a package. You want to buy everything together, and we'll talk about it. But so anyway, be reasonable, and you know, cheapskates need not apply because I'm not interested. But everything has a price, and I am always interested in trades for other farm models, provided they're not junk. And so you can always hit me up. But here we are in southern Maine, and I don't want to truck anything anywhere, so if you want any of this stuff, you'll have to come get it. So the red Cub, the 48, you'd probably be looking somewhere in $3,100 with the flail mower and a bunch of extra parts, all the manuals. I'd sell that for whatever market value is. This tractor here, this Super A, probably with the snowplow and the extra parts and the manuals and what I get in it, I'd let it go for $2,800. Maybe a little less, just depends. A lot of it depends on if I like you or not when you come out.